Hello everyone and welcome into our latest live video. Today it is Wednesday, the 24th of June, 2026. My name is Carey Holzman and trying another little experiment with the lighting today. And see those shadows right there? See how they're pushed a little further down? Trying to do a little something with the lighting. I'm just running an experiment and I thought we'll see how it goes live today and try this other light out here, but I think that makes it worse. Oh yeah, it definitely makes it worse. Anyway, let me know which way you prefer. This does make the video a bit brighter, but that creates shadows. We make the video a little darker. We reduce the shadows, but then the video's not quite as bright. As for my brightness, well, you can't adjust that. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to follow up on the Minisforum M2. This is the M2 AI, and you'll hear a lot about AI going on, and I don't understand why so much of this is really for developers. We're seeing a lot right now of developer-based hardware, everything from how you code and how you create, how you experiment and test software. Most of anything that says AI right now in its current state is really for those people who do that work. For the average home user, there's no benefit to it, very little at this point. It will become, as the developers start writing code to optimize it, it'll be integrated into everyday applications like Outlook and Word and everything else, where built-in AI features can run locally on the machine with privacy, versus right now we're all pretty much going out online, letting services like ChatGPT, Gemini, XAI, all these other services, Grok, let them run it on their big data centers, and they're much faster. They've got a lot more power. So by bringing it locally, you will in the future be able to run much of it without having to send it out online and keep your privacy in control. That being said, for now, you got to start somewhere. And the people that are really talking about this online are developers or experimenters, people that are home lab enthusiasts. And you better believe every single one of them is online and talking. There's just talk, as though it were something for you and I. But they're not trying to talk to the regular person. They're not, the developers, they're the ones creating the stuff that they're expecting you to buy, right? So they're talking amongst each other, and you would get the impression, if you didn't know any better, that these were regular, ordinary, everyday folks, just computer users. These are not computer users that represent the masses. These are the computer users that represent a very small minority that makes the stuff the rest of us use. And some of them are just enthusiasts and hobbyists. They like toying around with the latest and greatest. So right now, when it comes to computers that come with AI capabilities, they don't do much for most people. There are a handful of applications that will benefit from it. And then the double whammy on that is the AI processing time on these is pretty insignificant compared to the big data centers. And as the CPUs improve, the prices will go down, and the AI capabilities and processing times will increase, just like processors used to increase in frequency. Go 1 gigahertz, 2 gigahertz, 3 gigahertz, 4 gigahertz, right? And the chips were mostly going down in price and giving you more bang for the buck. Then they kind of hit a frequency limit, and now it's like it's 2 cores, it's 4 cores, it's 8 cores, it's 40 cores, it's 128 cores, and it all has to start from somewhere, right? When the processors first came out, there wasn't a graphical user interface. You pretty much worked on a text prompt. It takes some time, and over the years, it's developed to what we know as Windows 11. And if you're relatively new to computers in the last 20 years, that may be all you have ever known. But for those of us with computers 20 years prior to that, it was a very different place. And in much the same way we see the repetition of the cycle of the evolution of the technology, and with AI, it's all the same thing starting over again with, we've got this thing, and the hobbyists, the enthusiasts, and the developers get super excited about it. So when I first was using computers in the 1980s, it was exactly the same. It was just developers and enthusiasts. And as computers, you know, when that became the IBM PC, the personal computer, around 81, and for the next 10 years, it was still mostly, 10 years, mostly just developers and enthusiasts. A few offices that were on top of the game that were typically run by bosses or people in charge that were hobbyists and enthusiasts, you know what I'm saying? Or they needed an app like, what was it, VisiCalc or something like that. Accountants would buy that no differently than they would buy a calculator. Whether or not you had a calculator, I don't know, but they needed it constantly throughout the day. This was a step above that calculator, a big step. And it took a while from the invention of the computer, or the home computer, to become this affordable thing, but very complex. You really had to have a pretty strong interest to learn how to control it and manipulate it, because you had to learn another language. Just like if you wanted to go to another country where they speak another language, you would take the time, if you were going to start working there, to learn the language. And that's how computers used to be. Now computers are like coloring books for 3-year-olds. You open it up, you see the pretty picture, you click on it, and that's it. Anytime something goes wrong, people, they're flummoxed. They don't know what to make of it. And look, that's, I mean, it's a good thing that you no longer have this requirement of knowledge or dedication or commitment to learn how to use it. But on the other hand, because many people don't know how it works, the simplest of problems, you know, they're completely thrown. It's like, oh my gosh, my car has a flat tire. I'm stuck. There's no possible way this car will ever move again without an expert. There are many car owners that don't even know how to turn a bolt off of a wheel. I mean, they just don't know how. They don't know how a jack works. They don't care. They're not interested. They just want the car. When they created this graphical user interface, what it did is it took down that barrier to entry of any sort of prerequisite knowledge or understanding of how computers work. It said, listen, you can be completely uneducated. You could have absolutely zero experience. And you could be more of a, I don't know, more of an artistic type person rather than a logical person. And it doesn't matter which one you are, because we made it so easy a child can use it. Well, AI is going to get there, right? So AI starts out where you really have to be sort of an enthusiast or a developer to take advantage of it right now. And that's who they're marketing all this to. I mean, they're marketing it to everybody. And if you didn't know any better, you might think there's an advantage for you as a general user to have it. But they're really, except for a handful of applications, it's, unless you're using one of those, which is not likely, not at this time, you could take it or leave it. It's not going to help you. It's not going to hurt you. All right, so we want to clarify that right now. And that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be that way for a few years. And I'll let you know when things change. But in the meantime, just assume until you hear otherwise, it's still mainly for developers and specialty use case scenarios. The average home user, again, no benefit to it, but also no harm in it. You can have it and, you know, grow into it, but you may end up replacing the computer before that ever happens. Time will tell. I mean, my crystal ball hasn't worked in a long time. I don't know when it's going to happen, but if we look at other things that were introduced with computers, including the computers themselves for home use, it took about 10 years. So I don't think it'll be 10 years. I think it'll be about half of that. It's still quite a ways away. So again, we'll let you know when things change. But in the meantime, when you're shopping for a computer, and hey, you know, a lot of people with Amazon Prime Day going on right now, they're looking for bargains. And, you know, if you find any, let us know. I haven't really seen much in the way of any good deals. You know, maybe they take $15 off of a $350, $400 computer. But mostly what I'm seeing is on Prime Day, very insignificant discounts, very teeny tiny little amounts off. And also a lot of old technology that's new stock. Computers that were built 6, 7 years ago that are sitting on a shelf, those are selling for like $200. they really should be considered for the landfill. They just never sold. It's sort of like, I have this pizza I cooked yesterday. So instead of charging you $20, that's what I normally charge for a fresh pizza, I'll sell this to you for $8.50. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy it for free. I'd say that should go to a trash can. It's old. People don't necessarily know that when they buy it. This is something they generally find out later. Typically, what I see in my line of work is I see people get excited about a $185 computer right now. They buy it. They use it. And within a short period of time, usually within a year, and certainly within 2 years, I get the call. Why is this thing so slow? I just bought it. It's only a year or two old. And I go, I don't know. I mean, I'm just a year or two old. Let me take a look. No, that computer's 7 years old. It's 8 years old. It was 6 years old when you bought it. No, I bought it new. No, I understand you bought it new. They built it 6 years ago. It's been on a shelf for 6 years. It's running slow because it needs to be replaced. You've outgrown it in 2 years is what's happened. The cost to upgrade that isn't really going to help you because you can't upgrade the processor. So no matter what you attach to it, your processor is your bottleneck. So, I mean, you could buy a brand new Intel Core i3 10100 right now on Amazon Prime. You could. I don't know why you would. It'll probably work well for you for about a year. After that, you're going to call and you're going to say, this thing's really slow. And say, yeah, it's old. It's very old and underpowered. It was considered a bottom of the barrel budget entry level computer many years ago. And what you bought was leftover inventory that wasn't sold. Therefore, there's no sense putting any money into it. Just buy another one. It's just like you bought a disposable computer. You used it like a battery, throw it away, buy a new battery. And that's the big thing happening on Amazon Prime Day. I'm seeing a lot of people that are going to be more than likely quite remorseful that they didn't understand what they bought. And it'll be long past the return period and long after any warranty. It likely won't be a warranty issue. It's just not going to be capable to meet their growing demands and security demands. But, you know, this has been going on for some time, but with the economy being the way it is, I suspect it's much, much worse right now. Companies are really trying to get rid of this old inventory. They don't want to write it off. They would rather sell it for something than get nothing from it. And the consequences of that, the best thing I can tell you is never buy from a company who does that. If you got burned by a company, take it as a lesson learned and boycott that company. Never buy anything from them again. Make sure that they have consequences the same as you did that happens years after the sale. And they'll see their sales numbers dip, and they'll have PR to deal with where people are complaining that they got sold old equipment. They didn't realize it for a year after they bought it when somebody informed them and let them know that this is the company's attitude. You know, that they know exactly what they're doing. They didn't make a mistake. And if you want to continue to support and buy products from a company like that, that's on you. But for the rest of us, the only revenge you can get is to make sure that just as you realize the consequences a year or two later, by never buying from them again and saying to your friends and your family you shouldn't buy from them ever again, that it hits their bottom line in a year or two when they realize all their sales tanked. That's what I would do anyway. But if you are aware of any deals going on with Amazon Prime, especially with tech, gadgets, mini PCs, let us know. I haven't really seen anything. I don't think $15 off is that big of a deal. Honestly, on a $300 computer, that's the best they could do. Also, Best Buy. You know, Amazon's putting millions of dollars into advertising this Prime Day campaign. So Walmart and Target and Best Buy, they're not stupid. They're going to say thank you for paving the way and paying for all the pavement and doing all the work. Now we're going to ride behind you on the pavement and all the hype you just paid to create and let people know, hey, we're having sales on Prime Day too. Completely unrelated. We're just going to get on top of your bandwagon that you're paying for and we're going to use it because that's what businesses do to each other. You think what they do to customers is pretty rude. You should see what they do to each other. So Walmart's going, hey, we got Walmart days, and Best Buy's going, we got Best Buy days. Oh, and it just happens to coincide with Amazon's big multi-million-dollar marketing campaign for Prime Days. They're not dumb. So this happens every time there's a Prime Day. Always remember that. If Amazon Prime is putting all that money into marketing their Amazon Prime Days, you better believe Target, Walmart, Best Buy, and many other retailers hop on top of that train that Amazon's paid for. Say, us too, us too. They don't have all the marketing expenses. They just let Amazon pay for it, and they just ride the train to free advertising. So just bear that in mind. That's just the way the companies retaliate against one another or take advantage of one another. A shout out to our good friend Buster out there in Scotland who sends us an Amazon gift card as always. Thank you so much, Buster. He also sent me we just before the show he sent me a Luke Skywalker photograph, like memorabilia from Star Wars. And again, I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put all this, Buster, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan and I appreciate it very, very much. And welcome in, everybody. Let's see who's joining us today in our live chat. Montana says hello. Mike Gaming says hello. The Mopar Nerd says becomes a supporter. I can get the words out. Dustin Feller says hello, and Jonathan Fells joins us. Scott Messerschmidt saying hello. Mark Gaines says hello. He says hello from a very warm Northern Ireland where it's 82 degrees Fahrenheit. I wish it was 82. Oh man, it was so hot. We're going to be in the 110s all the way to the weekend. I can't wait for the weekend. And it'll only be 105, well, 108, 105, I wish. All right, what else we got? David Graham says hello. There's Mara, our channel administrator, joining us. Ben Laird joins us from Scotland, says hello in the chat room. Sean Skinner and Andy W6AD are saying hello. Jim Kenny says hello, along with Luke Greeny out there in Vermont. He says, stop teasing me with the Minisforum jewels. Raj Liad Delgado says, I just bought a Minisforum AI X1255, upgrading from a Razer Blade 2019. Your videos were very useful, mate. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, they all use mobile parts, right? These use the same mobile laptop parts that laptops use. So the only difference is which parts, but they're all the same mobile parts. You could just as easily find these components in a laptop, a modern laptop. But this doesn't have the screen, the keyboard, the battery, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit cheaper. And, you know, I see a lot of people that use desktops, laptops on their desk, and they don't even use the laptop. They have their own keyboard plugged in, they got monitors plugged in. This would be cheaper for equivalent processor, RAM, etc. Let us know what you think of it when you get some time to work with it, familiarize yourself with it. What do you think? 3D Everything says hello, as does Michael Lavelle. Buster says hello to everyone, and the temperature in Edinburgh, Scotland right now is 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 19.41 degrees Celsius. Thank you for that, Buster. 67. Of course, it's nighttime there, too. It's probably 10 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. Cools down, obviously. Frank Jimmy saying happy birthday. Thank you, Frank. It was my birthday yesterday. Another year older. John Lewis says hello from Brazil. Welcome in, John. Shamim Kejviras, all the way from Sweden, joins us, says hello. There's Eugenia Dago saying hello, along with Rick Lakes out there in Minnesota, in Prince Territory. You know the singer? Let's see. David Graham said he built another PC today, an oldie but a goodie, an i5-10400F. Yeah, you don't really hear about anybody building computers right now. It's few and far between. And then when it is happening, it's usually older parts because it's just everything is so expensive. But good on you. Nothing wrong with that either. Nothing wrong with that i5. Frank Jimmy said he just had a customer purchase a Synology DS223 Plus NAS along with two 16-terabyte drives for $1,500 on Amazon. I could not find any Prime deals on the NAS or any NAS drives. Yeah, I'm not surprised. You know, storage prices, even mechanical drives, the mechanical drive manufacturers cannot keep up with the demand of the AI data centers. So it's not just solid state drives, it's not just RAM, and it's not just GPUs, all of it. The only thing that's not really being affected by the AI are computer cases, power supplies, and motherboards. And they're seeing a diminished sales this year of nearly half. It's almost as though they started selling VCRs and they wonder why. How come nobody's buying them? Well, if you can't rent any VHS tapes and you can't buy any blank ones, what good's the VCR? So what good is the case if you can't afford the parts to put in it? What good is the motherboard or the power supply if you can't afford the RAM and the storage? And so there's a domino effect that's happening. And I think by the end of the year, we're probably going to see more than a 50% decline in total revenue from companies like Asus, ASRock, MSI. They're reporting almost 40% so far this year. So I think if that continues to get worse, let alone continues at the same pace, I think I'm projecting they're going to, if you compare last year's total annual revenue from each of these motherboard manufacturers to the end of this year, and they calculate how much revenue they brought in, I think it'll be a total of 60%. It'll drop by more than half. And those companies are going to have a hard time keeping employees and maybe even staying in business, depending on how much financial backing they have and how patient their investors may be. Some investors are just pulling the plug now before it gets worse, and that puts more pressure on the company to try and get some sales because that just took money out of their, you know, all that investment just left. So where's that money going to come from? Be interesting to watch what happens here. And if some of these companies end up buying one another, you know, if MSI buys ASRock or something, don't be surprised. We saw it coming. On the other hand, if things start to get better and these companies recover, don't be surprised. It could happen anytime. And anytime literally means anytime soon or anytime at some point in the future that is yet to be decided. Could be years, could be months, could be hours. We just don't know. So we just keep an eye on it and see what's going on over there. It'll go either way. Either way, we won't be surprised. We just don't know when. We don't know what's going to happen first. Something will happen first, eventually. Mark Liebowitz joining us from Chicago, where he says it's around 64 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius, and it's raining there. I wonder what rain looks like. Frankie B joins us and says hello from New York. Steve Miller says hello. He says he loves my pizza reviews. Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. I do these frozen pizza review videos because, you know, YouTube's been really oversaturated with, there's more content creators on YouTube at this point. There's more content being uploaded per hour than being watched per hour, basically. So it's tough right now as a content creator. And I thought, what kind of video could I make that won't cost this much money that has more universal appeal? I think more people like pizza than like or have any interest in computers. And in a year from now, when this computer isn't made anymore, who does this video benefit? But a year from now, that frozen pizza I reviewed is still probably for sale. Might even be the same one. So anyway, I thought I'd give that a go. Besides, I got to eat. So why not do both? So I'm just having fun with that. It's nothing that's monetized or anything. It's mostly like my own little diary, because now when I look down the frozen pizza aisle at the grocery store, I go, did I have that one and did I like it? Hold on, let me look. I could just immediately see what I scored it. Oh, that was only a 5 out of 10. Oh, no, I don't want it. So it's really kind of selfish there for me to just kind of keep track of it. It's also selfish for me to have an excuse to buy something I wouldn't ordinarily buy because I don't like the way it looks and I'm judging it. And I go, I got to buy it and make a review out of it. And you know what? Some of them aren't as bad as I thought they were, and I would have never tried them otherwise. So that's all the benefits to me, and I just film it, you know. It's all the justification machine doing its job there. Chris Johnson says hello. Welcome in, Chris. RW Roblu says, I built 12 computer systems in the last 4 months. Sold 5 of them, but no more. They're too costly. So you built 12 computer systems since February? March, April, May, June, since March. So, yeah, what are you going to do if you built 12 and you sold 5? You're left with 7. Now what? You just have them sitting there? I know the feeling. I'd much rather have the money so I could turn around and do the next thing. But it is what it is. I didn't see it coming. Or by the time I saw it coming, it was already too late. Let's see. Andy says so far his only purchase during Amazon Prime is the AOO Star AG01E GPU dock that has a built-in power supply, 800-watt power supply. It was on sale for $152. It's normally $180. Okay, that's not bad. And Anubis Rising says it's 92 degrees in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Elijah 52 Dickens says hello. There's Richard DeFries joining us as well. Welcome in, everybody. All right, so what I want to do today is I want to pick up where we left off. I think we were the first people to review the M2 for Minisforum and M2 AI. And I really appreciate that Minisforum has given us an opportunity to be first, just to get out there with it, you know, something that you know for a fact that, you know, that all my ideas are my own. All my reviews and attitudes are not being borrowed because I watched somebody else's content that influenced me and just repeated what they said. If there was nobody but me when I did this at the time, then you know for a fact whatever I said was uniquely my view, including if I got anything wrong, right, or misunderstood something I was looking at. There's nobody to cross-check with. Now there is. And then I set it aside and forgot about it, and that was a month. It's been a month, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm glad I found it, because 1, we need the content, but 2, I hate having unfinished projects, and it was just kind of off to the side, and I was walking past it, not even noticing it. That's how bad it gets. So let's get it fired up. And I did run Cinebench on this so we can see the score, but I don't know that I checked the BIOS for power modes, so we'll do that too. And if you have any other questions about it, you know, feel free to ask. And I don't know if I'll know your answer, but now that it's been out for a month, there's been time for information to develop online. You know, one of the KVMs I bought, speaking of when you try stuff that's new and the waiting you have to do, I bought an ARC KVM from Kickstarter, and there's a part of it that's not working. The multicast DNS isn't working. So I can't type at my browser window arccvm.local to log into it like I can with literally every KVM I have. And it's been updated a few times, and I plugged it in last night and updated it, and there was an update, and it's still not working. So I gave up, and I wrote to them last night, and I said, is it me? I know it's not a network issue. All of my other KVMs connect with MDNS just fine. Is there a checkbox I'm missing or a setting? And they emailed me back within a few hours and they said, no, we're aware of it and we're working on it and we hope to have it resolved in the next update. Well, I worked on it for about 2 hours. So it was quite a relief to know I was wasting my time. Now, so that was a Kickstarter how long ago? And then I had to wait to receive it. And now it's been a few months and it's still getting updates and it's still not right. If you enjoy that, again, more of a developer, more of a hobbyist, it's a great price and you get to be first. On the other hand, it's still not functional, like not fully functional. And give it time, it will be. Just depends on the speed of their development and where their priorities are. So it's not junk or anything. It's just, to me, it's not done. And I would give it probably at the pace we're going, I would say by November, it'll probably be good to go. I'm guessing, just based on how slow the progress has been, I think it'll be November. So if you want something that you're gonna buy and it's gonna work out of the box and be all polished, don't be first. Also expect to pay a little bit more for it. The people that wanna be first, when it comes to Kickstarter anyway, the price is usually discounted for the early adopters. When the product is released brand new to the public, the prices are usually higher. And a lot of times if there's hype around it, it'll sell out. So not only is it expensive, it's hard to get. So if you put that in perspective, the Jet KVM, which came out about 2 years ago, that is very well polished. They still come out with regular updates. But I'll be honest, I can't see any difference in what the Jet KVM is doing. So whatever they're fixing has nothing to do with how I'm using it. It's 100% reliable, works great, and they have them in abundance on Amazon. You can just order them on Amazon for $103. And the price did go up a little bit, but then so did the price of everything else in this economy. You know, food, RAM storage. Just through natural inflation, the price went up. And the cost of RAM, you know, because the little KVMs have RAM in them, that affects their pricing as well. Even though they don't use a lot of RAM, the little bit they did use cost 3 times more than it did. So if it used to cost them $1, now they're spending $3, and then they have to adjust the price, you know, if they want to stay in business. So anyway, that's what's going on there. Let me, I was just going to get a network cable here. Plug this in, we'll turn this on, and see where we're at. Turn that on. There we go. It's a nice little subtle power light there. I'll jump over here to see this output. So let me do that now. Hopefully we'll get a video signal here in just a second. And where it says Elgato, that's my video capture card. That's why I don't have to film my screen. Don't you hate that when people point their camera at a monitor and it's all wavy? And I think, I don't know for sure, but we should have gotten a signal by now. And OBS recently updated to a new beta, and I might have to reset that input. So let me go back over here to camera 1 for a second. Now let me drop it back to camera 3. See if that fixes it. No, that's not the problem. Okay, this is plugged in. Replug both cables and make sure I plugged all the way in. Hopefully we'll get a signal here. There it is. Good old Carey not plugging cables in. I'm too gentle with them. All right, so I think the first thing I want to do is I want to take a look in the BIOS. I'm looking for power modes. And as you notice, we've got the benchmark results, Cinebench and Crystal Diskmark. You know, we've got our SSD scores. I've got a picture of the device manager to see who makes the network cards and what they are. So Wi-Fi 7 with an Intel BE200 and 2 Realtek 2.5 gig LAN ports on this. I would like to start seeing the manufacturers replicating that, but until they do, we'll keep doing it so people know. Our Cinebench scores on this just running in whatever default mode, which I would guess is, if it does have modes, would be in the balanced mode. You'll see our scores here. and our temperatures up here. So temperatures looked really good on this. So the next thing would be for me to go into the BIOS. So we'll restart this. And the trick in going into the BIOS on most computers is wait until the word restarting goes away. And then once that happens, we'll start pressing the delete key about once, 1.5 times a second. Sort of a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. But I gotta wait for that word restarting to vanish because it's not monitoring the keyboard for that input until it restarts. And sometimes right there, when it starts to restart, you don't initially see the screen. It might be delayed. So you want to be pressing that delete key even before you see it. Now, it may be that the delete key isn't the right key on this, and that's why I didn't get in there. Or it may be that my timing was off. And that can be maddening sometimes. Now, of course, you can always Google or sometimes look on the bottom of the mini PC to see if it tells you what key to press. So the other thing we can do is we can do advanced startup and just have it start us up with the start menu. We can go to settings and then Windows Update of all places, and then advanced options, and then recovery. Then do advanced startup right here. And that will give us the option to start up in the BIOS without pressing any keys. So it's a few more clicks and an extra restart, but it's a lot less frustrating. Oh, and we're getting an update. So that's fine. Let me go back over to camera 1. I don't need to wait for an update. And if you have any questions for me on this, do let me know. This is quite powerful in a very small package. Usually when they do that, they can be a little bit louder. It's all plastic, so it's good for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signals to get through there. And I do believe we opened this on camera, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we've already done all that. We just didn't do the lengthy Cinebench testing. And so far, I haven't really noticed the fan. But when they are this small and this powerful, I typically expect to hear the fan much more noticeably than larger or less powerful models. That kind of comes with the territory. But so far, this has been very quiet. I think what I'll do is I'll just take camera 1 and we'll put it in a corner and we'll keep an eye. Yeah, that's what I wanted right there. So that update didn't take very long. And we'll, right here where it says troubleshoot, click on that and then advanced options. And then you're going to see UEFI firmware settings. It says, are you sure? Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about which key it is. Doesn't matter if you're on a Dell, an HP, Ace Magic, Minisforum, Geekom, GMK Tech. That's a function of Windows. So let me get rid of camera 1 and take a look in here and see if we do have power settings, because I think I forgot. Not finding it. This is mostly just information. There's really nothing to change here but your BIOS language and the date and time. Can't imagine why anybody would need to change that. Usually, if you're going to have power settings, that would be under the Advanced tab. And even though I don't think any of this is going to make a difference, I'm still poking my head in there just to see. Yeah, no power settings here. They're definitely not going to be under security settings. Interesting that there's a secure flash update. I don't know what that is. I would leave that alone. And then boot order and boot override. That's pretty much it. So pretty straightforward. Again, the information about what's in this computer is mostly on the main page, the first thing you see when you sign in. And interestingly enough, it says the processor information is Panther Lake, Intel Core Ultra 7 356. That's a pretty damn high-end processor and brand new. Remember how I said some places are selling computers that were, using 6-year-old hardware? That processor recently came out. So you got to be a little bit of a nerd to understand what you're buying, or you need to know a nerd to help you, to guide you through it, or you might end up with something 6 years old versus something brand new. But it's usually pretty obvious in the price. When it's really, really super inexpensive, if it's under $400, it's probably at least 300. It's probably at least 3 years old. And the more the less expensive, under $400 it is, that it goes to be 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. Okay? That's what you should expect until proven otherwise, and then you won't get burned. Do I want to quit without saving? Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and load that back up. So I guess there's no other power mode, so we don't have to run Cinebench in like quiet mode or performance mode. That's fine with me. I think balanced mode is the way it should be anyway, and when they set that at the factory to just be balanced mode only, and you can't mess with it, I think that's great. I love that. It's one less thing the user can screw up. Remember, when we're living in a pretty interesting time right now where we have people that are really good at pointing at pictures and clicking, and they think they're technically savvy, and they start getting in over their head and they fool themselves. They trick themselves into thinking they actually know what they're doing. They believe they know what they're doing. They believe they have a technical understanding. They're the ones asking for help. More often than any other group of people on the planet, if you go on Reddit, it's people who got in over their head, and they'll tell you, hey, I'm a computer tech and I can't figure this out. That's because they're not computer techs. They just decided in their head, they just decided I'm one. Because compared to everybody else they know more than them. But if they knew any real computer techs, they wouldn't be calling themselves a computer tech, and they wouldn't generally, and I mean in abundance, the amount that I see, there are some real computer techs asking for help, and I'm not making light of that, but it's nowhere near as common of the people who call themselves computer techs asking for help, because they're not computer techs. Not that it matters, but I really want you to understand what you're seeing online is mostly enthusiasts. Most of the real computer techs don't spend time online. They're working. And when they come home from work, the last thing they want to do is do more work for free. I'm weird that way. And there's a few other weirdos like me, okay? And I mean that in the most loving way, whether it's Doug Betts, Mike's Unboxing Review, Ask Your Computer Guy, Scott Merrill, Cyber CPU Tech, real working computer technicians that after they spent their day doing this, come home and then make videos about it, their day at work. Something wrong with this. But most of the videos are just enthusiasts who just love and enjoy the hobby. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sometimes their perspectives of consequences are very dismissed because they don't really have an understanding of the depth of millions of dollars in people's jobs that are at stake over something they think is no big deal. And in their world, it isn't a big deal. But if you're a real technician, it could cost you your job. So I think that's really the important thing. Talking to somebody who's got accountability and experience versus somebody who's got experience with no accountability. That's two different types of advice you're going to get. So it's almost like you can search for, I'll give you an example that I think you'll agree with me on. Say you're looking for a cure for your cancer, and you go online and there's people telling you to eat apple seeds or some other drink colloidal silvers, and then you ask a medical doctor, an oncologist in particularly, one with experience, lots of experience. Whose advice do you really want to take? And I'm not suggesting those other people should be completely ignored. There's no harm in doing both. But I would rate the medical doctor's advice more valuable, and you paid money for that advice, versus the free advice you're getting from some people online that, for all you know, are playing a joke on you or truly believe what they're saying to be true, but they only have their own experience, which could involve things that they don't have any knowledge of. But they may be under the impression that they've never gotten into a car accident on a Wednesday, so Wednesday is the safest day to drive. And that may be true for them, but I see plenty of car accidents on Wednesdays. Okay, so they'll conflate in their minds. It's a very common thing that people do on social media to meet an explanation that has no scientific basis. They have a data set of one. It's just not very valuable. And again, that's why they don't charge for that information. Doctors do. So you get free advice, it's probably worth free advice, including this advice right now. Now that I think about it. Ultimately, you'll be held with the consequences of your own decisions regardless. And I just want you to have a positive experience online and to know when to raise a red flag and when to do more research. If you see something that is going to make your computer faster or more secure, most of that stuff's all nonsense. It's all mostly nonsense. There's a few videos that are quite useful, quite beneficial, but they don't make up the majority, right? If you want to pan for gold, you're not going to find much gold. You're going to be sifting through a whole bunch of dirt. In that dirt, you'll find little tiny nuggets. Well, that's kind of what the internet is. So just keep that in mind and choose wisely. David Graham said, I woke up, I got my coffee, I built a PC, all in the first hour I was awake. That sounds like a good day. All right, let me jump back over here. Where did I leave off? Let's see. Right click, we'll go to System. So again, here's our processor, the Core Ultra 7 356H. Don't let that 1.9 gigahertz fool you. That's its idle mode. We have 32 gigs of RAM installed from Minisforum with a 1 terabyte NVMe installed at Minisforum. And of course, we have the latest Windows installed on there. So what I'm curious about, if we jump over to Amazon, I wonder if the price on this has changed in the last month. Might have gone up, might have gone down. Let's see, it's a Minisforum M2 AI. Whoops. M2. That's it right there. So this is $1,000. Whew. 32 gigs of RAM. This is us. This is us right here. $1,000. Well, in Arizona, there'll be sales tax of about 10%. It'd be about $85 of sales tax on this. So 85 plus, let's say 960 will put us to 1,040, somewhere around there, 1,045. That would be my cost on this to buy it. And then there's a little bit more about it here, being a portable AI workstation with 50 trillion operations per second, and the GPU doing 40 trillion operations per second, which is still pretty slow compared to a data center, obviously. It says it supports Qwen 3.5, so this is some kind of, I've never heard of Qwen, but I'm guessing that must be a large language model for, again, developers and hobbyists that are into it that deep. A little bit about its size. It is very small. It is Gen 4 for the NVMe drive. It says you can use this for work, AI, media, and light creation. So light creation doesn't mean you're creating light. It means that you're doing minor creation work. You're not doing heavy-duty creation work. So like this person may be editing a video, but it's not going to be a really super complex video. But then your phone can also handle videos too, and this can do much, much more than your phone can. It's a lot more powerful than the phone in your pocket. So it's sitting somewhere closer to the high end, but there's still a higher end for video editing. This is a video editor for $1,000 is really, really cheap. Let me put it to you that way. It does have dual slots for dual NVMe drives at Gen 4, and it does have dual RAM slots, so that the RAM is not soldered in. And we already went over the networking, so it's all pretty high-end across the board. It's not the highest end but it's high-end. Now they show their Cinnabon score being, I'm just curious, 15678. Let me compare that with what we got. Now that's interesting. We got higher than that. Usually, it's been my experience that manufacturers, they're doing something to get a little boost that's not standard out of the box. We're getting 16695 and then 2043 on the single core. And here on their marketing, they're saying that number is lower. The single core is lower too. That's unusual for a marketing company to not highlight the highest possible score, but maybe they pulled that directly from Intel. So as I mentioned, that score you saw, the frequency speed you saw earlier, this will turbo to 4.7 gigahertz. So it's running at about half of that right now to reserve power, reduce heat, and reduce fan noise. And then when you need it, it'll crank up, just like the way a turbo on a car works. A little bit about the networking. And then they've got a little bit about the AI, which again, if you're not running AI locally, this does nothing for you as a regular user currently. It does have USB 4. And that's 40 gigs per second. And that USB 4 can be used to output to a monitor. So if you use the built-in HDMI port and the display port and the USB port, the USB 4, you can run 3 monitors at the same time, no problem, and in 4K no less. Finally, here's all the ports, right? So we got the reset button there. That's for people that go into the BIOS and monkey around and they don't know what they're doing. If you never go into the BIOS, you'll never need to press that reset hole in your whole life of owning this computer. I'm just telling you. That's only there for people to monkey around. You're allowed to, and that's what's going to rescue you when you step into the quicksand. The rest of us, stay out of the quicksand. You won't need that. You won't need that rescue. They should call that a rescue hole. Of course, the power button, the audio jack, which you can use for speakers, microphone, or a headset. There's a USB 4 right there. I think that's the only USB 4 it has. It does not appear to have one on the back. You've got 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 by 2s here, with another Gen 3 2.2 on the back and 2.0. That's a total of 5 USB ports. I'd like to see 6, personally, especially at this price point. I would have liked to have seen another USB 4 back here. There's your 2.5 gig ports, and of course the barrel style power jack there. And then this down here in the bottom left corner, this is called a Kensington lock or a hole. A connection interface for a Kensington lock. It's basically a way of buying, you know, when you buy a bicycle, they don't normally come with bike locks. Well, these can be essentially locked down so no one steals it with a bike lock. Only these are just thin braided cables, very similar to a bicycle lock. And the difference is on the end of it, it's got a little piece that has tabs that when you turn the key and insert the end into this square hole, the tabs open and lock into the metal frame. Not just the plastic, because then you could just break it free. There's a metal frame in here to block interference, and it locks into the metal frame. So you take the other end of the cable and wrap it around, I don't know, a pole or something bolted to the floor, and you'd need some cable cutters to get through that, just like a bicycle lock. They're only like $10 to buy one. But just in case you're worried of, you know, you're like, hey, it's a really powerful computer, but it's so small, someone could just snatch that and go. But these are also typically mountable. I think this one has, yeah, it's got brass points for a VESA mount, so you could mount it behind the monitor and kind of keep it out of sight, out of mind. But that also means anytime you want to access the USB ports and stuff, it's going to be inconvenient for you to reach around your monitor. You could also mount it under a desk or against the side of a desk or against a wall. That might be more easy for you to access it and at the same time make it a little bit more difficult for anybody to steal it. It just kind of depends on where it's being used. You know, we would worry more about thefts if it were being used in a public school. We don't want people stealing it.
if it's in your home or if it's in your office, I can't imagine your customers in your office would be stealing your equipment. But you never know these days. I guess it depends what business you're in. Are there any reviews on this at all? There are no reviews. So usually after I do the part 2, I'll do a summary of my review and I'll add it just to help Minisforum out. You know, I'll write a review. And Minisforum doesn't require me to do that, obviously. And now that I see that it's lacking any opportunity to be the first, you know, when it comes to tech stuff, sign me up. So I got to make a mental note to myself to leave a review on this after sometime tonight after the show. Seems like an injustice that nobody's reviewed it. At least not on Amazon, anyway. Anyway, the NVMe is a Kingston. It's included at that price. And it's really, you know, the part 2 had to wait because Cinebench takes 20 to 30 minutes for me to run that and test it. And if we were already on a 3-hour video, I didn't want to stretch it to 4. So what ends up happening is we end up with this long part 1 and then kind of a short follow-up that leaves the rest of our time here today sort of available to interact. So we'll do that now. If you guys have any questions, if you you know, want to talk about any good deals you found on Amazon Prime. We don't accept links in our chat room. So if you want to just tell us the make and model and price, we can Google it, or you can email us links, of course, that Mara can forward to me and we can put on the screen. And just to remind you of our email address, that's how you'll reach us if you want any personal attention, in the sense that everything here is public. We're on a worldwide stage here. We're asking questions from the audience publicly. But if you want to, you know, get into a little bit more detail, or you don't want to, you know, express what the issue is publicly, just reach out to us privately. We'll do what we can to help you. And if you find any good Amazon Prime deals and you want to send us those links and the links don't work in the chat, just send them in to that email address. Let's see. I would be remiss if I did not keep reminding you folks about VIP-URCDKEYs, the company that I go to when I need to buy Windows and Office license keys for the computers I sell my customers. I can't pay retail prices for what Microsoft wants. My customers are going to look at me like I'm high. Why are your computers so much more money, Carey? But on the other hand, I can't sell them stolen or illegitimate copies of Windows, because if they get audited and the auditors say you're going to get a fine for having illegitimate software on your machine, then the customers are going to come after me for basically selling them counterfeit Windows. So I have to find a provider that's real, legitimate, legal, that protects me, but also saves me money and also won't abandon me after the sale if I need help. And that's when I found VIP-URCDKEYs. And it'd probably be more interesting for me to tell you the stories of the other places I bought from that screwed me over, which is every single place until I found this company. Every single one of them, especially eBay and especially Etsy. Do not buy your product keys unless you expect to get burned. But I was also burned buying them from Amazon and Newegg. So they're selling scam keys too, alongside real keys. I don't know how you're supposed to know the difference other than after you buy it. So if you don't want to play that game, I've already done all the work. Most people in my position running a company don't tell you where they buy their stuff, because I'm effectively telling you, most people in my position would resell it, right? I tell you, oh, if you want a Windows key or you want an Office key, I'll sell it to you at a discount. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and this is the way business works in case you didn't know, I'm going to go buy it from a secret place, and you're not going to know what I paid for it. And I'm going to tell you, I'll sell this to you for 35 bucks. I'll sell it to you for $60. I just showed that at PC World Magazine. They're like, hey, go get your copy of Windows 11. Right now it's on sale for $59.99. Do you know how much a Windows 11 product key is at VIP-URCDKEYs? Less than half. So that's all profit. But they're doing you a favor, remember, and they're not being fully transparent. It's just not the way the marketplace works. And me, I'm sort of defiant and rebellious. I'm like, I'm going to tell you. You can go get it yourself. I don't have to. I could say, come buy it from me if you want it. And then call me if you have a problem. But I don't want to take the calls. I don't want to do the support. I don't want to handle the sales and the returns. So for me, it's in my best interest to just tell you, here's where I got it. You go get it. Underneath every video we do, like let's bring up this video here. Underneath the video, underneath the title, that very first gray box, it says more. That's where you find a thing called a video description. And that video description will contain all the links to the products and things we're talking about on the video, as well as the Windows 11, Windows 10 Office product links. You don't have to use those links. They're not commission-based. But if you want to, it'll save you time searching. Once you're there, like in this case, we've got a Windows 10 Pro key. Or no, that's a Windows 11 Pro key. See how it says it's $33.34? As soon as we want to buy that, it says you need to sign in first. So if you don't have an account, create one. But it's got to have a way to send you the download link and the product key. So, you know, if you want to use a throwaway email address, good luck to you. Because if you ever need that information again, you'll never remember. You just screwed yourself, is what I'm saying. So I use my real email address. And then that way, if I ever want to log back in at any point in the future and look at my purchase history, I don't have to ask anybody for any help. Just like Amazon, every purchase you ever made on Amazon, going back 30 years, it's still there for you to look up today under your account information that's under your email and your password. So what you just saw me do there, because I was talking over it, was I put in a coupon code or a promotion code of Carey that took 25% off that price. You don't have to do that. If you want to pay the $33, pay it. If you want to save 25%, well, I use my own coupon code. I pay exactly the same as you're paying. All I did is I asked the folks at VIP URCDKEYs if they would work with us and offer this to our audience. And they agreed. So they support us here. And therefore, we don't have to twist your arm to make a purchase. It honestly makes no difference to me if you buy it or you don't buy it. If you buy it from somewhere else, go for it. I don't make any less money and I don't make any more money regardless of where you buy it. I'm telling you, if you don't want to deal with the gamble and the hassle and you want to make sure that the company that sells it to you is going to back it up, this is where I buy my keys. This is why I buy the keys there. If you have any problems, you've got 6 months of free support from these folks. And if that doesn't resolve your problem, you reach out to me personally, even though there's no commission in it for me. If they aren't taking care of my viewers, and I find viewers are complaining, we're not going to promote them anymore. They'll be gone. They know this. So they're highly motivated to make sure you're happy, okay? But don't take advantage of, being rude or anything to them. They're worried. They're dealing with a lot of scammers online. You guys, the people online, are tired of being worked over by scammers that are selling online. What I've done is I've filtered a genuine, honest seller, and I filtered genuine, honest buyers, and I'm introducing you to each other. That's where my role stops. And almost every single person that has ever bought from them has nothing but good things to say. One time we had a viewer that accidentally ordered the wrong thing and they wanted a refund. And the problem is that's exactly what scammers do. That is just right by the scammer playbook. So if I've given you a product code and taken your money and you say, oh, I didn't mean to buy this, how do I know you didn't just use the product code? It's no longer valid. I have to wait a couple days and just check it against the database and see if it's been activated. Because if it has been activated, you're a liar and you're a scammer. So if you're like, I want my refund today, most places would not give you a refund at all, period, under any circumstances. However, if in fact they can verify that that code wasn't activated after a couple days for that to process, they'll obviously do what they can to make it right, including refunding your money. That was one time in all the years we've been working with selling these keys, we had one viewer do that. And they knew they screwed up. We had another viewer that just was insisted that he was being ripped off. I said, why are you so convinced you're being ripped off? Well, they said they give me a refund and it's not showing up on my credit card. I go, when have you ever used your credit card in your life that a refund shows up the same day? That has nothing to do with them. That's your bank. You're going to have to wait usually a couple of business days. And if it's the weekend, whatever, just like any other time you've ever been refunded on your credit card. But for some reason, this person had it in their head that they were being scammed because they didn't see the refund right away. And my question was, when in your life have you ever seen a credit card refund go through the same day? If it's voided, different story. When people use credit cards, the money doesn't transfer that same day to the seller. And that's what scammers do. Scammers know this. So the scammer will take, let's say, a stolen credit card. And boy, I'll tell you, what these scammers are doing now is so nasty. They'll say, I want this product instead of that product, and they end up doubling the product, right? Because they say they didn't use a key and they did, or they're reselling it themselves. They could sell it for $5. That cost them nothing because they bought it with a stolen card. So they're going to undercut the person they stole it from using a stolen credit card. Then they're going to demand a refund. I'm trying to think how the refund scam works. In the meantime, the seller reimburses somebody, and then the credit card says, oh, that charge, we're reversing that charge because the card was reported stolen 3 days after it was approved. So now the seller not only lost the amount that was charged, but then the amount is doubled that they gave back. So it's twice the loss. There are people that will look around for receipts in the Walmart parking lot. They pick up a receipt and they go, hey, free receipt. They take the receipt and they go, oh, this person bought bed sheets. Okay, fold that receipt up, stick it in their pocket. They go in Walmart. They go down to the bed sheets. They buy the exact one on the receipt, or they pick it up rather, they don't buy it. They pull it off the shelf. They walk to customer service. They pull out the receipt and they hand the receipt and the product that they just take off the shelf and say, I want to return this. Here's my receipt. And then the Walmart customer service gives them cash. Stupid. Walmart even says, when you're checking out, like self-checkout, do you want a digital receipt? Which is stupid, because if you say yes to that, then the person who checks your receipt at the door, you need to pull up your phone. Well, you can just create a Walmart receipt with your phone. So you can go grab, some product, and you would plan this out. You'd know, all right, you can take a picture of the product barcode or whatever on one visit, and then you would have AI create you a Walmart receipt for those products and prices. And then you walk in the Walmart, you go grab the product, you immediately walk out. Person says, can I see your receipt? You show them your phone. They can't tell it's an AI receipt. Have a nice day. If you're a seller, and I want you to understand, if you're a seller, you can't tell an honest buyer from a scammer. And if you're a buyer, you can't tell an honest seller from a scam seller. We have to help each other out. We have to alert one another of these things. And that's all I'm doing with VIP-URCD keys. I'm not telling you where to shop. I'm saying I know for a fact they're real, legitimate, and they will have your back. And if you're one of my viewers, they know that you're an honest buyer. So they're not going to be as scrutinizing for you as they would be for anybody else. So right there, we're already off to a much better start for everybody being happy, for them to be happy, for you to be happy. So if you keep hearing me harp on about it, I think this is really important. It's getting really, really bad. These days, especially when it comes to buying software online, a lot of us are learning the hard way, and it can be a very expensive lesson. In this case, it's not that pricey, but it also means whatever it was you were set out to accomplish, you accomplished nothing and wasted your time. And you spent money, no matter how cheap it was, you still lost that money. Then you're going to start all over again, buy another key from another seller, and keep repeating this until you get the real thing. Or you can just cut to the chase. You know what a reputable seller is, where they're located, and how to use them. Now it's up to you to make the choice. Doesn't matter to me. I don't make a commission on it, so choose wisely. I don't want to get ripped off for $1, let alone $30 or $40 or $60. PC World magazine. Oh, $60, what a bargain. Yeah, look at the favor they're doing their viewers, huh? Crazy. Even companies that are reputable are despicable sometimes. In my opinion, anyway. Joseph said, I used your link for a Windows 11 Pro key, and I had a friend who was building a computer and wanted me to do all the software stuff. It worked fine. It worked great. Just downloaded Windows and just the way you taught us. Yeah, it's good. I promise you, Joseph, it'll work for you the same way it works for me. Usually when people have questions, it's because they didn't follow my instructions. Or they're asking a question of something I never talked about before. But usually it's not uncommon for somebody to ask me a question. And, you know, I had one the other day, just to give you an idea how lazy and manipulative people can be. Somebody left a comment on one of my videos that said, I didn't catch if you said this had one M.2 slot or two. Well, I mean, they didn't watch the video. I know for a fact they didn't watch the video. So I have two choices. Delete their comment, because I don't owe them an explanation. They can't be bothered to watch the video. I'm not tech support for the companies I'm reviewing. You can reach out to their support if you have technical questions. I mean, you're happy to reach. I'm more than happy if you reach out to me, but understand that I don't work for this company. So my knowledge is very limited. But I spend a good 10 minutes talking and showing off the inside of the computer. So all I did is I played the video and I skimmed through it, or what we call scrubbed through, just the play bar, dragged it until I saw me open the computer, freeze framed it right there, or paused it right there. I said share link at this timestamp, and then hit the reply button and just copied and pasted the video with me holding this open. I didn't type one word. I just found it profoundly rude. So it's like, you can't rewind the video? What part did you not understand? You know, the question was so vague as to, I didn't catch what you said about the M.2. Well, what about what I showed when I was talking? Did you see it? How many did you see? If your audio wasn't working, you could still see how many M.2 slots there. It was one of the dumbest things, and it was very obvious. Somebody just couldn't be bothered to watch the video, and they wanted me to spoon feed them, personally tutor them in the instructions or the specifications, that they could not be bothered to watch the video. Had they watched the video and they didn't catch it, they'd know how to use the rewind, don't they? Pretty sure they do. Otherwise, they maybe shouldn't be looking for a computer, but maybe they should be looking for, I don't know, putting Nerf on all the sharp corners of their furniture, buying a helmet. It is so bizarre. So a lot of times I just delete those kind of things because I know I'm being played. I know this is either a joke, this is a troll, this is rage baiting, or this is someone lazy that expects me to work for them for free. And then, well, you said we can ask questions. Okay, well, questions that haven't already been answered, you know, in the video. I didn't know I had to specify that, but here we are. So, you know, you just don't know anymore with society being the way it is. what the intentions are of each individual. You don't know the intentions of the content creator. In most cases, it's safe to assume their goal is to make as much money as possible. When PC World is writing an article and you wonder why they didn't cover these other products, it's probably because those other products didn't pay them to write an article. Yes, they do get paid for some of their articles that are just nothing more than commercials, and they do not disclose that. Other times they might just say, no, this is really the computer we like, this $1,000 one. But the real reason they like this $1,000 one is if you buy it from Amazon, their commission rate on $1,000 is higher than their commission rate on $500. So their boss is saying, push the more expensive items, there's more profit in it for us. They're not looking out for their viewers when they do that. They're looking out for themselves. And they say, well, we've got a business to run, Carey. We're not a charity. Okay. Why don't you just say that? Why don't you put it in the front of every article you write that, we're choosing these products because they're partially, not only because we think they're a good buy or they're a good machine, but there's also a much better commission in it to make it worthwhile for us to even write it. Oh, we couldn't say that. That would completely diminish the value of what we're writing about. Yeah, honesty will diminish the value of what you're writing about. Okay. And they'll look at me like I'm crazy. How do you think this works, Carey? I go, I don't know. I know the way it works for me, and I don't play those games. I'm not interested. If you want it, buy it. If I make a commission off of, let's say this. We have a link for this to Amazon. If you buy it off Amazon, I make a small commission. So what? It's not enough for me to go buy a car. It's not even enough for me to probably buy a candy bar. It's very, very low. I don't know what it is. On a $1,000 computer, it may be $10 at most. All right, so yeah, I guess I could buy a candy bar, but even then, I've seen candy bars that cost $10+. So I don't know. I don't know. I just can't wrap my mind around the lack of any empathy for anything but their own good. I only want what's good for me. Why can't it be good for everybody? Why does there have to be a winner and a loser? If the folks at VIP-URCDKEYs can sell you a real key with support at a discounted price that you're happy with, you feel like you got a good deal, you feel like you've got peace of mind. If there's any problems, they've got your back. I know that you guys appreciate the honesty and the transparency that I offer. That helps me, for you guys to keep coming back for more. VIP-URCDKEYs will continue to support us. Who's the loser? Nobody. It's not like it can't be done. But that's the part I think I'm struggling with commerce in general. And nothing angers me more than you can see the exact same product for sale at one grocery store, and then you go to another grocery store and the exact same product is 30–40% more. Same exact product. They don't make it. Could be a package of butter, some name brand butter, and it's $6 for the butter here, and it's $4 for the butter over there. You say, well, that's the marketplace, Carey. That's how it works. So it works by ripping some people off. Yeah. And you sleep at night ripping people off. Well, that's just business. Oh. So when you say that's just business, is that what you tell yourself when you go to bed at night so you can sleep, that you just ripped off a bunch of people and it's not your fault? Okay. Okay. That's what you tell yourself. You believe your own lies. Okay. Walmart will say, we don't run any sales. Everything's always the low prices, but now they've introduced these digital price tags. They don't look like digital price tags. You got to look at them real close, but they have the ability to change that price in an instant. So you could literally pick something up off the shelf where the price tag says it's $4.99, and then the cash register rings it up at $5.99. And if you happen to catch it and you go, you call them out, this is $4.99. They go, show me. You walk over to the shelf, and where it used to say $4.99 because it's digital, and the time it took you to walk to the register to buy it, it's possible they flipped it to $5.99. And when they did, the whole system got updated. It's called surge pricing. And there's no evidence that Walmart is doing this, but they, with all the digital price tags in place, what's stopping them? I think they are doing it, they just haven't been caught yet. And I've also found Walmart isn't as cheap as they used to be. In fact, I found products available, everything's flipped. Where it used to be expensive at like Kroger, it's cheaper than it is at Walmart for some items. The exact same items. So I've been mostly buying from Amazon, and even though there's still some stuff on Amazon that's a bit overpriced, when I factor in that I don't have to put gas in the car and drive over there, it's going to come to me and there's no delivery fee. It works out to be a benefit for me personally. Some items, especially food items, I'll still go and pick up personally. I don't have any type of food delivery, not grocery delivery, none of that. I want to pick the item, I want to look at the expiration date, I want to look at the price. And I like shopping. You know, it's almost like you have power. You can put things in your cart. Power. At least it is at the grocery store. Not so much the furniture store. But, you know, I see so many people having groceries delivered, and I understand some people may not be able, for medical reasons or disabilities, to leave, but at the same time, I really enjoy the process of you know, looking at new products that weren't there before. Oh, what's this? You know, if I know exactly what I want to get, and I'm not interested in getting anything else, then having it delivered to me is fine, I suppose, as long as there's no substitutions and the expiration date on the product is acceptable. But by the time I have it, it's too late. It's way harder to return it. It's much easier to look at it when I'm there, put it back on the shelf if I don't like it. So, but like I said, people do what they're going to do. And I'm just trying to be a smart buyer. Nobody's looking out for me when I go to the market to say, hey, did you know you can get that cheaper? We were in the market the other day, a real fancy one, kind of a high-end rich people store, grocery store. I think it was Whole Foods. And this finely dressed, middle-aged woman approached Mara, and they started talking. And I was kind of waiting. I was just kind of perusing the aisles, and I have no idea what they were talking about. And it went on and on and on, and then I thought, I don't know if I need to go get her. What's going on? Well, this woman was saying that she didn't have enough money to buy the groceries and was asking Mara if she could help out, and she would really appreciate it. Such an embarrassing situation to be in. She would appreciate it if she didn't tell anybody. She's not shopping at a regular, you know, dollar store. She's at the most expensive grocery store that you can shop at in Phoenix. And after her conversation with Mara stopped, I saw her now talking to another stranger, and you already know what this conversation is. I mean, where's the dignity? Holy cow. She was nicely dressed. She didn't look homeless or anything like that. But if you don't have any money, what are you doing shopping at the most expensive grocery store and then begging people for money to help pay for your groceries? And this was a pretty large lady. She wasn't starving, you know. Society's getting kind of weird, man. And I was on the fence. I was like, you know, I think I should report her. This isn't right. I need to tell the store, you got a beggar in here. And on the other hand, I thought, yeah, somebody will do it. Whatever. She wasn't being demanding or harmful. She was quite polite. She was looking for empathy. Tell you her sob story as she's shopping in the most expensive grocery store in Phoenix that she doesn't have any money. Well, maybe you shouldn't be eating the caviar and the steaks if you don't have any money. Is that harsh? I was taught to earn things, but not everybody was taught that, I guess. So it's not just happening online. It's happening in person. And how much do you want to bet if I'd have followed her out to her car, she has a newer, more expensive car than we have? I'll bet you. Andy said whenever he buys a bare bone mini PC, he always uses VIP-URCD keys. There you go. Never been a problem, right? It just works. So you don't have to take my word for it. Just ask anybody in the chat room who's used it if you still have doubts. And at the very end of the day, all that matters is what your experience is anyway. So if you want to share your experience with us and let us know, for better or for worse, let us know. Because if it is a bad experience, we'll make it right. We just don't have to, because it's pretty rare that there's ever a bad experience. Bikeman says hello. Ransvat joins us along with Edward Bass. Frankie B said he bought 2 Microsoft Office keys, didn't have any problems. Right on, Frankie. Paul Guy said it's been a long time since I've been able to watch a live stream. Well, welcome in. It's good to see you. Robert McCord Bagumi says hello in the chat room as well. Welcome in, everybody. Let's see. What else am I missing in the chat? Michael Cardero says, Carey, I am in the market for a laptop. From your experience, what are the brands to consider? Well, anytime you stick with a name brand, be it Dell, HP, first of all, you've got the backing of a large company behind it. So those are, in general, good brands in general. On the other hand, if what you're looking for is something entry-level, very, very inexpensive, but with peace of mind that you'll be taken care of if something goes wrong, I would suggest Nemo. On the other hand, if what you're looking for is a business laptop, you might be looking more towards Lenovo. But on the other hand, if what you're looking for is more of a workstation or a desktop replacement, I might lean more towards Dell or Samsung. On the other hand, like, I can sit here for a half an hour and do this. So basically, what you need to do is decide how much money you've got to spend, and that will tell you what your limits are. Because a laptop could be $300 or it could be $5,000. And to suggest that a laptop is a laptop is delusional. We'd have to understand what your restrictions are. Some people want something very thin and light because they're traveling with it. Some people need a bigger screen. Some people need a longer battery life. Some people need it to play games. Some people only have so much money and they need it to work from home. So there's so many different questions that's why there's so many different laptops. It's like, what kind of car should I buy? Well, do you need a pickup truck? Do you want a sports car? Do you need an SUV? You want an electric, maybe a hybrid? You need 2 doors or 4 doors? Do you want something that can go off-road? Do you want something that needs towing? Are you towing a boat? Are you using it for what purpose? Are you just buying it for fun? Are you looking for something fast? Are you looking for something that gets great gas mileage? Are you looking for something that has tax rebates? Are you looking for new, or are you looking for used? Are you looking for a convertible? You understand this goes on forever. We just continue to just go around in circles because you're making us guess. So I can't guess for you, but just keep in mind, usually the first place to start is, how much money do you have to spend? That will right there limit you, for most of us anyway. And then the second thing is, what are you going to be using it for? Is it just going to sit on a desk, or will you be traveling with it? The problem when you're traveling with a laptop is anything bigger than a 13-inch screen is almost impossible to use on an airplane unless you're in first class. You'll be like a Tyrannosaurus Rex with the screen right there. So you really need a small screen. But if you have a hard time seeing and you need the bigger screen, you got to pick one or the other. On the other hand, if you really want a good battery life, but you want to play games, you have to pick one or the other. So if you want a really powerful car, really super fast, but you also want a car that gets really, really good gas mileage, you're going to have to pick one or the other. You cannot have both. So the questions like that are quite tricky to answer. Just to give you a little bit of what it's like in my shoes, when somebody asks something you don't realize, but what you just asked was quite vague. But if you can more specify what your needs and budget are, I can more specify some solutions. But in general, the brands I mentioned would be the ones that I would look at first personally. Frankie said, I sent you some links the other day. Yeah, we did get those links, Frankie. Thank you for sending them. I don't recall seeing anything really sort of mind-boggling. I could look back at them again. I'm trying to remember what you sent. We had somebody send us a link for straws. I'm like, whoa, there's a really good deal. Okay. I was looking for really good deals on mini PCs. I don't know, Frankie. Maybe I have that email here. And I do appreciate when you guys forward the deals on. I was really looking for deals on like mini PCs, and I don't know but that's what Frankie sent. Let's see. Frankie sent Amazon Prime for a battery charger, like a portable battery charger. I've never used one. I've never shown one on the channel. I just was kind of puzzled, like, okay. And then the other thing you sent, Frankie, was a link for a JBL Bluetooth speaker. And I don't think that's a good price. Like, it says it's $159. They have them used like new anytime for $151, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. When it says used like new and it's coming from Amazon, you have the same 30-day returns, and it's even cheaper than Prime Day. So just FYI, well, I appreciate the links. What I was really looking for was like, hey, this RAM link or this storage, NVMe drive or hard drive or NAS or mini PC, and more than just $5 or $10 off, And the reason why I have not been showcasing any Prime deals is there hasn't been any. Like, if people are getting excited for $15 off a $400 machine, that's not a big enough discount. You know what I mean? Like, to me, 10% would be $40, right? If it's not at least 10% off, and if it's like $100 and it's 10% off, it's $10. So what? So the cheaper it is, the bigger the discount has to be in order for me to get excited about it. Because you can often find used like new products that were returned for even less, and it doesn't have to be in this little window of time that Prime Day is. So I do appreciate you sent the links, Frankie. I thank you for it. They just weren't products that we would normally feature here. Luke said his wife is really enjoying the Firebat laptop. That's always wonderful to hear. They're sort of the Luke and his wife are the guinea pigs for Firebat for us. I don't have the time or the means to run through and use it every day because I don't know the brand very well. So I don't know how well it's built or what sort of problems might come up in time. And Luke was like, we'll play that role, So they're reporting back what their experience is. They're relying on it for daily use. And so far, so good. And that'll help us to determine if we're going to purchase any other Firebat products. Firebat's never sent us a thing. I don't even know if they know we exist, nor do I care. It's just a question of, are they worth revisiting? I was looking at some reviews on mini PCs, and I saw Glorlin and Gatorly being reviewed a lot. And what's interesting is these content creators don't know what they're reviewing. Well, I don't know what this brand is. It sure does, this Glorlin, I think is how you say it. It sure does look a lot like Gatorly. I don't know if they've rebranded. Go to the website. How hard was it to just go to the website? And the website says, this is Gitorli/Glorlin. All you had to do was look, and you're doing a review and you can't even be bothered to even go to the company's website. For all these reviewers know, they don't even have a website. One reviewer did say that they went to the website and it didn't really have anything on it other than drivers as far as other information. But you know, the only reason that website exists and the only reason they have drivers on it is because we bought one and we said, this is a problem. There's no website, there's no drivers. They reached out to us and they said, thank you, for reviewing our product that we paid for, by the way. And they said, we're working on a website. I think I left like a 2-star review on Amazon saying, hey, when you buy this, you're on your own. I don't know where you're going to get support, how you're going to return it for an RMA, or where you're going to get drivers. This company does not exist. And I think it was the Amazon review that actually caught their attention, if I'm not mistaken. And they said, we appreciate the feedback and we've now got a website up with drivers. Would you consider changing your review from 2 stars to something higher now that the things you've complained about, we've addressed? And I said, well, let me go see your website. So we clicked on the link and it's there. And I said, yeah, no problem. You absolutely did address the issues and you absolutely deserve more stars because those stars were there for a reason that no longer exists. No problem. And then they said, well, would you be interested in reviewing, this new product we've got? And that was this PC that's a speaker. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I told them why it was terrible. And other reviewers are like, oh, it's pretty neat. Okay, buddy, how are you going to open that up? It's got a fabric case around it. You got to get a razor blade and cut through the fabric just to open it. And the speaker, they're like, oh, it sounds pretty good. No, it doesn't. That does not sound good. It's flat. It's tinny. It's like a little AM radio speaker. It's awful. But these reviewers are, oh, it's got a nice speaker. Da, da, da. It's amazing how friendly they are when you give them something for free. And they did send it to us for free, and I was hesitant to open it and look inside because, I was trying to open it non-invasively. And I put it on the shelf, and the more I think about it, I should bring that back out because that's not something I will sell on eBay. And that's not something that I would ever recommend. So I thought, I could at least get some good content out of it. It's just sitting on a shelf with no future. It's like right from the manufacturing floor, right into a trash can. Bad, bad, bad design. And I told them as much. I told this to Gitorli. And they said, we appreciate the feedback and we'll keep that in mind. And then they came out with another mini PC and they said, well, how about this one? And they were kind of back to, just a standard, easy to get into. Okay, that one's much better. So I appreciate when companies hear the feedback and respond in a positive, constructive way versus defending whatever decisions they had. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. I'll bring out that Gitorli speaker one and bring out a razor blade and let's cut the thing open, because there won't be any putting it back together. It'll just be a fun little dismantle project. And I suppose we could take the RAM and storage out of it, what little it has, and use it in something more worthwhile. But the rest of it has no value as far as I'm concerned. Glad we didn't buy that one. If we had bought it, I would have sent it back to Amazon for a refund. That's how bad it is. RW Roblu said I would go with the framework laptop. You can put it together yourself or order it and put it together. And it'll only cost you the price of 3 laptops. You can buy one framework laptop that you put together yourself, or you can buy 3 already built laptops for the same price. 100% true. It's not that the framework laptop's a bad product, but I'll be surprised if they're still in business in 2 years. We've been through modular laptops in the 90s. They're just way too big, way too heavy. The components, no third parties really jumps on board, so you still end up with proprietary components. Even though they're modular, they're just too expensive, they're too heavy. So for people that are tinkerers and they don't really care about value, it could be a lot of fun. You know, nobody's going to Disneyland who cares about value. That's the biggest ripoff you could ever waste your money on, in my opinion. It's just terrible. They'll nickel and dime you for every single thing. Food, souvenirs, parking. Oh, you bought a ticket to get in the park? Do you want a ticket to get on this ride? You want to pay all this outrageous price for our food and wait in a half an hour line to get to it? Have nowhere to sit and stand up eating? All those souvenirs you bought, you want to carry them around the park all day, or do you want to rent a locker for more money that you could store them in? There's no value there. But if you got the extra money and that's how you want to spend it, I'm jealous. Okay, I'll just tell you straight up, I wish I had that kind of money. If I had that kind of money, I'd buy a framework just for the fun of it. But I don't, so I'd rather have 3 laptops instead of 1 framework. It doesn't mean the framework's bad. It's just not, it's not a good value in my mind. Elvin Shaver says hello in our chat room. Give me just a second. Now I've got this Gertorli speaker PC on my mind, and I want to, if I don't do something about it right now, I'm going to forget. And what I want to do is I want to take it out and put it in the studio area for an idea for content, since we're looking for some content ideas anyway. I think it is, it's like in a generic box over here. It's not labeled. Got to be this one. Just a plain white box. And here we go. It is buried back there. That's why I forgot about it. It's out of sight, out of mind. Oh, it's not Gertorli, it's Soyan. My bad. My bad. I have confused some of these smaller mini PC makers that only make a handful of products, and we've never heard of them. And it was right around the same period of time that we were looking at Gertorli and Soyan. Like they were like a week apart. And so by comparison, Gertorli and Glorlin are actually quite good, in my opinion, compared to Soyan. Soyan has much fewer products. And in fact, I don't know if we've heard from Soyan since this. So my apologies for mixing that up. That's what happens when we're unscripted and live here. But yeah, it's sort of this generic plain box, and I wrote on it, so I knew what it was. And for those of you, as a reminder, that already watched this, we punched some holes. This is why I wouldn't sell it on eBay. I had to punch holes in the fabric to get to the screws, which I had to feel for like indentations and guess. There's no instructions on how to open this because it can't be opened without destroying it, or at least without destroying this fabric. And this fabric's covering up something that's unfinished. Why would you finish it if you're going to cover it up? And it's going to open up like a clamshell into 2 halves. And we were able to get the top off of it and the bottom off of it. But you can't get into work on anything. And then I punched holes in it here and here to get to the screws, hoping it would somehow open. It doesn't. It's sealed shut. You cannot upgrade this. I hear something rattling in there too. That's not good. And this is, I think there's a sticker that tells us, because I can't remember how it was equipped. It says it's got 32 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. And the CPU is an 8745HS. So, I mean, overall, the specs on it aren't terrible. But in order for me to even get to the RAM or to get to the storage, you have to remove the fabric. Now, if you're really, really good with a hot air glue gun, this fabric is glued down. And you could, in theory, if you're really good at it, unglue this fabric and remove it without damaging it. But to put the fabric back on, you'd almost need some kind of special tooling, just like installing carpet. If you ever installed carpet before, it'll come out wavy. You have to stretch the carpet. You need sort of like a carpet stretcher where the carpet's pulled really, really tight and then it's latched down while it's tight. That's why you see these guys, they'll have knee pads, they have a special tool, and they bang on it to shove the carpet really, really tightly onto the hooks, and it should be under tension. And if you haven't had carpet replaced in 10 years, you probably start seeing the carpet loosen, and you'll start to see lumps in it. Somebody has to come back out and re-stretch the carpet again, and it's hard work. You got to do it about every foot against every wall to get that carpet all stretched out, tightened up. Well, you would have to do the same thing with this fabric. So if you were able to remove it with a hot air glue gun so as not to damage it, trying to get it this tight, you see how tightly it's wrapped? I don't know how you're going to do that. Like, that's well out of my wheelhouse. And I shouldn't have to know how to install carpeting to work on a computer. The same reason I don't do custom liquid cooler loops. I shouldn't have to understand plumbing to work on a computer. That's fluid in electronics. They don't go together. But I suppose a pool man could say, I shouldn't have to learn how to install an electric light inside of your pool. That has nothing to do with hydrology and water. That's an electrician's job. But though most pool people know how to hook up the electric to the pump and to the light. Usually comes with the job. This is not usual. This is very strange. And what they've done is they've made themselves so different, but different by itself doesn't make it better. In this case, they made it different in the worst possible way, so that you cannot upgrade this at all. There's no way to get into it. Even a simple repair, you ain't doing it. Unless you're okay with just letting it just sit open on your desk and exposed, like it's some kind of mad scientist experiment. I guess that's always an option, but that would make sense if you pulled it out of the trash, not if you just paid $400 or $500 for it. And then all your ports are here on the back. And it sounds terrible. The audio quality that comes out of that is like just one little speaker. That's all it is. Bajan guy says, Carey, I remember you working on that mini PC. Yeah, I think I have some PTSD from it. But thankfully, they sent it to us for free. Because if I would have paid for it, it would be back in Amazon hands. And I wouldn't have punched the holes in it, you know, to get to those screws. I wouldn't have damaged it so that I could be. Andy says there's $400 worth of RAM in that speaker. I don't know if it's soldered in RAM either. I'd have to open it up and look. He says DDR5 RAM and the Ryzen 8845 is a whiz-bang CPU. Yeah, no, I don't have any problem with the specs. I have a problem that it's sealed closed. And you can't open it without damage. And the damage really can't be undone. You'd have to be someone with some pretty special skills to be able to reassemble that and re-glue that tight like that. That ain't me. And if somebody said, could you work on this? I've got a computer and you do computer repair. I say, I can't work on that. I don't think anybody would. I've sent it back to the manufacturer. And we don't even know where that is. It may not be in America. You might have to send it back to China. Wouldn't be surprised. And then when you find out how much that's going to cost and how long it's going to take, what are the odds you're ever going to buy another one made by that brand? So what I'll do is I'll set this aside, because today's video is all about the Minisforum M2, and I don't want to dilute it with this. But we'll make a video just for this, that we will open it up, and it'll be a one-way trip. There won't be any putting it back together. And if we can strip out any valuable materials from it if in fact that RAM is DDR5 and we can remove it. Storage is removable. And then the rest of it can go to the recycling center, quite frankly. It won't be any good. So I'm going to just set it over here so I don't forget. And we'll do a follow-up video. And yeah, that was Soyan. Kind of mad at myself for throwing Gaturli and Galerlin under the bus. They're somewhere on the fence between is it good or not. It's hard for me to really, they're right on the fence. With Soyan, it's a lot easier. It's easier to say, yeah, it's just not, especially not that one. Definitely a thumbs down. Much more clear cut. Especially when you have to cut it with a razor blade to get into it. It's both literal and figurative. Andy says, just tell them it's a French design. We like the French design, the Cube. What was wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that French design. Could work on it. This one, not so much. I wouldn't throw the French under the bus. Guess I'm forgetting something. I don't know why you'd say that. Let me just look through here again. I think we're just about ready to wrap it up today. Frankie was saying this reminds him of the Aber-Z mini PC. Yeah, they're both made by Minisforum. So that's not a coincidence, Frankie. You're not seeing things. All right. Well, I'm just looking to see if anybody's got any final comments, thoughts, or questions that we want to bring up before we wrap it up. A shout out and a thank you again to our good friend Buster, who went to bed a little bit earlier. It's pretty late out there in Scotland. I think it's about, well, it's got to be close to midnight, isn't it? Past 11, or close to 11 p.m. anyway. I think they're 8 hours ahead of us here in Phoenix, between Phoenix and Scotland. So hopefully he's getting some restful sleep. And he said, oh, he was just saying, tell him it's French because it's so different. I see. I mean, we see lots of different stuff from Minisforum. Some of those jokes just ain't working, my friend. I'm like puzzled. I'm like, okay. It's hard to be funny online. Let's see. Luke's telling Frankie his wife's been using that Firebat laptop every day from the moment she wakes up until the time she goes to bed. Every single day, she has not yet had a single problem, which is good because it's still brand new. You know, we'll see how the battery holds up over time, or, you know, just how the keyboard, the trackpad, the screen, you know, how they work in time. Hopefully nothing will change. Dustin Fuller says, great stream as always. Thank you, Dustin. Andy says, thanks to Minisforum for the exposure to the working man's PC. Yeah, I love that Minisforum has the gaming man's PC, the working man PC, the boy's PC, the wife's PC, plus keyboards, monitors, portable monitors, eGPU docking stations. I mean, they've covered the gamut. AI workstations, and they've got the new MS-03 coming out, which I'm pretty excited about. I'll tell you what's interesting, is while all the other PC manufacturers have slowed down research and development, every single one of them has, except one. The only one that is still producing new models and continuing to invest in research and development today in these tough times. Minisforum is producing just as many new models today as they were last year and the year before. Nobody else, not Ace Magic, not B-Link, not Camrui, not Paladin. Mostly these brands have gone silent. GMK-Tex had a handful of new machines, but a fraction of what they were doing. Everybody in this industry, every single one, has reduced new computer development to just a tiny little fraction of what they were doing. Minisforum is the only one. Because I thought, oh, sure, by now they got these new PCs. Now there's going to be a big break where nothing happened. Nope, they aren't slowing down. They have another model of their NAS coming out. They have the MSO3 coming out, and they just keep raising the bar on top of the bar they previously raised. No one's even competing with them at this point. So we're so glad to be working together with them in cooperation where, we don't pay them, they don't pay us. But at the same time, we're on their list when it comes to like new products coming out to send to us for review. And they don't have anything other than thank yous for our reviews, even if our review could be harsh. And I think there's only been like 1 or 2 mini PC items, like the screen, the portable screen with the cardboard stand that I spent an hour and a half trying to figure out how you origami this thing to working. I was not happy with that, and I made sure they knew it. I'm not happy with their NASs right now because their operating system, same with Arico, it's still in beta. It hasn't really changed since Kickstarter with Arico. And since Minisforum started selling this publicly, I told Minisforum, I said, look, I love you guys. And the hardware in this NAS is amazing, but your software is not ready for the public. And you should not be selling this to the public until that software is done. I think you're selling it prematurely. It has so much promise. I said, but you and Arico are using the same software, and you and Arico have some really good hardware, and you and Arico have introduced it, in my opinion, to the market long before you should have. Now, what people are doing is they're putting on Unraid or TrueNAS and just bypassing Arico's and Minisforum software. They're buying it from some Chinese company that hasn't got it figured out yet, and half of it's still in Chinese. What parts that were in English, for me, after the update, the last update, changed everything back to Chinese again. So I'm like, guys, come on. You're better than this. But you don't have to use their software. You can load on a free RAID software if you want to go through all that work and all that configuration. Then they're a great bargain for what you're getting. There's no really any competitor for that. Sort of Minisforum and Arico are the only two seriously developing that level of hardware for NASs. Why you would need it, I have no idea why anybody needs that. It is insanely powerful, but the software is so bad. It's so underdeveloped. It's just not ready to be used yet. Not in my opinion. Certainly wouldn't want to protect anything. Anything that's important, I wouldn't want to put on that and put it on the internet. It's just, there's got to be so many gaping security holes in that. And good luck figuring it out. If you want more of a turnkey, take it out of the box and use it. Stick with Synology, QNAP, SUSE-Store, or TerraMaster. If you want to monkey around with it and have fun, you could use any computer you got laying around. You don't have to buy a NAS for that. So you can understand my appreciation for Minisforum can hear me be that critical and still continue to send us new stuff. They said to me, one of their more recent communications with us is they said, we're really focusing on NAS right now. Because I'm like, what's the next new mini PC? And they, oh, we're really focusing on NAS. Okay. What's the next NAS you got coming out? And it's more of the same. It's like, oh, now it's in a plastic enclosure instead of a metal one. That's it? Yeah, we call it the Air. Okay, because it's 2 pounds lighter. Okay. What about the software? No, same software. Do you want us to send you one to review it? And I said, well, I'll review it if you want to send it, but if it's the same software, it's going to have the same problems as all the other ones. You got great hardware and just terrible software at this point. You guys should either drop that company you've partnered up with that Orico is also using, because you're both suffering because of them and how long it's taking them to finish, and just sell it bare bones and say, hey, you know, do what B-Link is doing and do what these other mini PC makers are doing, and say, put your own drives in it, put your own software in it. In fact, don't even include any RAM. Or sell it as a mini PC. Say, hey, this is a mini PC with 4 drive bays, so it comes with Windows, and it's got this crazy high-end processor, and it's a crazy high-end desktop that just happens to have four bays on it, and then you can just use Windows storage spaces to share that on your network. Because what you guys are doing, I said, it's way too premature. It's just not ready yet. For beta testers, it's fine, but for people to spend their hard-earned money and get something that really can't be used or very limited because of the software, I can tell you right now how I'm going to review this. So if you want to send it, we'll review it. But it doesn't sound like you've done anything other than change the metal case to a plastic case. So what? Who's carrying it around with them? And even if you are, the drives are heavy. It's not the case, it's the drives. You can lighten the case. You could literally make the case out of air and just carry around 4 big 30 terabyte drives. That's probably going to weigh 20, 25 pounds. I don't know what it weighs, but I will tell you the weight difference in a NAS that's empty versus one that's loaded. I'd have to put it on a scale, but when I'm picking it up, I'm like, damn, it's very, very heavy. Andy's saying thank you, Carey and Maralina, for another Mini Palooza live video. Yeah, they're fun, aren't they? This one, I'm kind of regretful that, or a little remorseful, that I let this sit and forgot about it, because it's such a high-end and so teeny tiny. It really isn't loud, and I was expecting something this powerful in a case this small. Typically that comes with some added fan noise. I'm not noticing it at all. The fact that there's no power options to put this in sort of a quiet mode or a high performance mode, I'm kind of surprised. Although I would just keep it in balanced mode anyway. It's nice to know it's there if you need it, but they didn't even include it on that. So it's not cheap at $1,000, but it also isn't 6 years old like other machines you might be comparing it to. It's sort of, you know, fresh off the factory floor from both Intel and Minisforum. So there's got to be an added price for that level of performance and that sort of cutting edge technology that's included in here that won't be so cutting edge as time progresses. So this might be something to watch for refurbished, or in a couple of years' time when the prices will go down because the newer hardware will make that seem pathetic, right? And then you won't want it as much. Supply and demand, you know. Right now at $1,000, it's pretty pricey. This would be a hard sell for me for my personal clients who are running, you know, typical offices, opening up Word and Excel and not PowerPoint, but PDF files, saving files on the NAS, stuff like that, spreadsheets, QuickBooks, Quicken. They don't need anything like this. Typically what I sell them will be more of an i5 at about half this price. And I don't have any clients that I could justify a $1,000 computer to today. Not a single one of them. There's no real estate agents that need something like that. There's no accountants that I have that would be opening up these big spreadsheets that would need that kind of power. Although that would probably be the closest to $1,000 computer, you know, these days that a customer of mine would need. Like the desktops I sell them are usually i5s. with a terabyte of storage and 32 gigs of RAM, and they're just fine with it. They do mention every once in a while they have to wait like 4 seconds for something to open. Oh my God, 4 seconds. How do you get through your day? But, you know, I say, well, we could solve that if you want to double the price. If you want to go to $1,000, you're like, nah, we don't want to do that. Okay, well, 4 seconds or $1,000? Well, if we spend $1,000, what does the 4 seconds become? I don't know. We have to try it and see. It might become 3.5. It might become instantaneous. It just depends on how the software is written. And your network's not any faster. So if you're pulling the files off the network, for all we know, it's a big file. And then if you want to upgrade your network, we could put in a new switch. We could put in new network cards, and we can bump everything to 2.5 gig. What's that going to cost? $2-3 grand to do the whole office. And how much speed will that get us? I don't know. It depends on how the software you're using is written. Tax companies use software like Lacert, Drake, Peachtree, etc., and they're just not very well written. Neither is QuickBooks. Anything from Intuit isn't written well either. It's not code optimized. And because it's not code optimized, they're relying on you to have more processing power in RAM and networking bandwidth so that they don't have to pay their employees to go back and rewrite, you know, to see the code they've got that works and then tune it. It's all out of tune. So because it's out of tune, it's not efficient. So the way you make up for the efficiency, you as the customer, you have to spend all the money on the hardware to have the resources to deal with this untuned software. It would run a lot better if it were tuned. But they don't want to pay their employees to clean up their code because they don't have to. It's not their problem, that's your problem. It's only their problem if you stop buying their software. And since they don't have a whole lot of competition in accounting, they kind of rule the roost. Between Drake and Intuit, Peachtree, or Sage as it's called, it's pretty much all there is here in the United States. Not a lot of room for any incentive for anybody to really do better. So they want as much profit as possible, and it'll be on you to just deal with their sloppy code with more resources. That's the gaming industry. I mean, the gaming industry has got some of the sloppiest code you'll ever see in your life. Very inefficient, very sloppy. I do think there'll be a time when they can just tell AI, like, okay, here's all the code, we've got it working. Now that we know it works, can we condense it and get rid of a lot of redundancies and make the code more effective, more efficient, reduce its size? A lot of these games are bloated right from the factory. They're, I would say, at least no less than 50% more code than they need to have. Because they just, like, if you remember Space Station Mir, that Russian space station, and they just kept adding on to it, but the add-ons were never planned. So everything was just sort of made up as they went along until eventually they just let it fall back to Earth. It's such a hodgepodge of made up nonsense. That's quite often the coding process, especially in the gaming industry. Just don't worry about how sloppy it is, just make it work. If it works and it just needs more power to run because it's sloppy, that's the customer's problem. But I do think there'll be a point not too far off where they'll be able to give that finished code to AI and say, rewrite this for us. Keep it the same, make sure it operates the same, but just get rid of all the extraneous code. And I'll bet you it'll reduce it by 50% at least. So that means you won't need as powerful of a gaming machine. That's the only reason you need a powerful gaming machine these days. For the most part, it's just sloppy code. That's it. The only reason you need all this hard drive space is they can't be bothered to pay their $80,000 a year employees to redo work they've already done to clean it. It's sort of like, look, we made the car, but we're not going to paint the car. All right, we're going to sell you the car unpainted. Full price. If you want to protect the body of the car and you want to put primer and paint on it, that's on you. That's not us. We don't do that. It's one of the only industries in the world that can get away with that. And people buy it. I need to have this graphics card to play this game. Well, not if the game was coded properly, you wouldn't. Not in most cases. You could run it on much lighter hardware. Oh, and by the way, the price of the games are going up too. So there you go. I'm in the wrong business. Bikeman said Second Life game code's 23 years old. I guarantee the code isn't optimized. Yeah, and they're definitely not going to want to spend money on a piece of 23-year-old software. You know what I mean? At some point, you're losing more than you're making. It doesn't make any financial sense. You just let it out and say, that's as good as it's going to be. You don't like it, you do it. Do it yourself. Andy mentions Minisforum is one of the first mini PCs with Panther Lake Intel chips. Yeah, they just came out. I think that's why we were the first one to review it. I don't think there were other Panther Lake minis out there when we reviewed this one. This might have been the only one, or at least this model of it, but I'm not certain on that. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Hope you're having a great middle of the week. We'll be back on Friday. Maybe just for fun, we'll take that Soyan apart on Friday. I just need to do something a little different. I need a little variety in my life. And there's no fixing the Soyan. There's nothing we can do with it. And I'm tired of looking at the box, so I think we'll rip it apart. If we can salvage the RAM and storage out of it, let's do that. Then the rest can go to the recycler. Be done with it. So that's a stillbirth mini PC if I've ever seen one. What a terrible, terrible design. I appreciate people thinking out of the box, you know, but you still have to be practical. And to suggest that that computer would never need to be opened for any reason would be like a manufacturer welding the tires onto your car. You know you're going to have to change the tires at some point. Why would you do that? That's just absurd. A little known fact, little sidetrack here. That's how cars used to be made. You may not have known that. But effectively, the idea of being able to change a tire couldn't be done, not on the side of the road. That was an invention. I don't know if it was Firestone or if it was Goodyear, and they each had their own patented way of being able to change a tire. But the wheel that the tire wrapped around was part of the tire. So you couldn't just change the tire. You had to change the wheel and the tire together. And they said, look, now when you get a flat tire, you can change it yourself, but you always had to use their tire and their wheel. The two went together. There was no intercompatibility. You couldn't take a Goodyear tire and put it on a Firestone wheel. It wouldn't work that way. So in many ways, we've seen all this before. We've seen all this in the automotive industry. And if you weren't around back then or you don't know your automotive history, you wouldn't know. You never lived it. But people just accepted it. That's the way it is. And it brought a lot of problems, a lot of limitations, and stranded. You want to talk about not having any phones for asking for help. There also weren't many roads either, for that matter. You're driving on gravel, on horse and carriage paths, for at least the first 40 years of the car. I don't think they introduced the freeway system until the 1950s. There were a couple of roads, but not like we have today. Was it Eisenhower? Somebody dumped a lot of money into the roadways and the freeways. And it was around that time that cars actually became much more useful with, you know, tires that could fit on other rims and things like this, and steel belted radials and things like that. And then being able to drive in snow and rain and tread patterns. I mean, it's fascinating history. And the rivalry between Goodyear and Firestone is like Coke and Pepsi. You know, it's, ooh, boy, those companies have it out for each other. Fascinating history. And that all took place in Ohio, I think in Akron, Ohio. Both of those companies, might have been Dayton, but those tires, all that development and invention all happened in Ohio, not too far from Detroit. And if you watch the documentaries, they're here on YouTube. And then you compare it to what we're seeing in the PC industry, there's still a lot of similarities there where they're still figuring things out. And that would be what I'm thinking of when I see this Soyan computer that's all sealed closed. It reminds me of those tires that you couldn't replace. What were they thinking? No one ever needs to change a tire? Come on. Yeah, Andy said it was Eisenhower that pushed the interstate highway system. Is that what I said? Did I get it right? I'm trying to remember. I'm not a history buff, but that I was born into it. It was already here. But what was life like before that? And how much before I got here was it not existent? It wasn't very long. Maybe 20 years. The freeway system had only been around 20 years by the time I existed. So by the time I existed, it was already in place. But what was there before that? Route 66, maybe. You know, Chicago to LA, one lane each direction. And of course, there weren't as many cars either. So it wasn't like it was all backed up and trafficy. Simpler times, as they say. Edward Bass said, enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. And Carey and Myra, well, thank you. We will if you will. Andy says, maybe mini destruction derby on Friday. Sounds good, man. I like the sound of it. I hope you'll join us here on Friday. We're live at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And if you're watching this video after it's aired live, you'll know because there'll be a comment section, which normally isn't there while we're live. So if you're seeing the comment section versus the chat room, then you're not watching it live. In fact, if it's not Wednesday, the 24th of June, 2026, and it's not, or let's say it's after 4 p.m. Pacific time, you missed the live show, but you'll catch the next one Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and then jump into our chat room and say hello. The more the merrier. Thanks again to Minisforum. We really appreciate working with them. They're a pleasure to work with, and I love their innovation. And I love that they're really the only one that we have that relationship with. That's also the only one continuing to develop new machines, as many this year as last year. Nobody else is doing that right now. We couldn't be in a better position with making friends with the right people who saw this coming. And of course, thanks to Mara, our channel administrator. She's the one that goes through your emails and answers them, as well as works with manufacturers like Minisforum to get us these review units, and you know, works on our thumbnails, our video titles, and putting the video descriptions all together, which is a ton of work. So super shout out and thank you to her for all of that thankless behind the scenes work that she does. I'm just glad I don't have to do it anymore. And of course, to all of our members there joining us and all of our viewers joining us, thanks for hanging out with us today. It's been a pleasure having you here. I hope you enjoyed it a fraction of how much I've enjoyed it. Thank you for making it so enjoyable. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Friday. And until then, bye for now.